p.m. Item 2, consider a request from the fire department to apply for, before I get started, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Start with Joe there.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Kyle Kearns, Director of Community Development.
Todd Eckes, Fire Chief.
Carrie Edmondson, Associate Planner.
Matt Zacher, Alderman District 3, Chair.
Dennis Pollock, District 6, Alderman.
Patrick Delaney, District 7.
Dean Veneman, District 2, Vice Chair.
Jay Bemke, District 8, Committee Member.
Shane Blazer, Mayor.
Jennifer Gossick, City Clerk.
Tim DeSorsi, Finance Director.
Thank you. Back to item 2, consider a request from the fire department to apply to the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG, to replace all of the monitors in the ambulances for approximately $130,000 total for the grant. This would be a 95-5 split. FEMA pays 95%, city would pay 5%. Todd?
So, if you remember from last year, this is a grant we apply for every year. The reason we're here and we don't have final numbers and things is that the notice of funding is going to open up anywheres this week, and we get 30 days, and that's why we're not really, defined. But I actually raised it to 150,000 because we called for last 3 days from the vendor, and they don't even have the new pricing yet. So to be safe, we put it up to that. The offset, the 5%, we can get out of funding that we get from the state, FAP grants and things like that. So virtually, it shouldn't cost the city anything. So, and this will replace, in our 2025 budget, excuse me, I'm getting over some chest congestion here. In our 2025 budget, we actually, not budget, but projected outlay was the 5 monitors. They're going to be at about 11 or 12 years. And this category, these monitors actually score high as far as FEMA's, how they rate them. They actually score high, and they have a low shelf life or life expectancy. We're at 11, I think, could be going on 12, and at 10 is when they say you should be replacing them. So we stand a really good chance, I hope, to get this through that grant. So I guess we're looking for permission to be able to. It's signed by Shane Blazer and Tim DeSorsi also. So.
Questions, concerns? Jake?
So, is this equipment that comes in a new ambulance? Is it, if you get a new ambulance in, is this all brand new in there, or you just move it from? Could you describe that process a little bit?
Sure. Some stuff we do get new with ambulances, so like our cots and the loaders for the cots and things like that. But most of this moves from ambulance to ambulance. So that we'd actually probably be getting rid of it as far as its life expectancy before, because we try to switch out ambulances every 3 years. So.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Just had a quick question myself, but I do have a motion by Veneman and a second by Bemke. So the 5% that's coming out, is that, you said it was coming out of where again?
So every year we get money from the state for things like this, FAP funds, and support and improvement is part of that money that comes from the state. So the money that would be offset, that we'd have to offset, we could take out of that.
Okay, so Tim, is that, when we talk about the money that Chief is talking about, is that in the overall budget, or is it set aside for the budget? Because I guess, the fund begins right now. If we start adding, 5% here all the way down through the year, then we end up looking at the end of it. So I guess I need to know on the front end, where does that 5% come from?
Right. Annually, we get FAP funds that we get, and from the state, and they have to be spent on specific items. Those aren't line item in the specific budget because we don't really know what the amount's going to be when we get it. So when we get it, a lot of times you'll see it in a budget amendment resolution where those funds will come in, and then we'll appropriate it over to the appropriate expenditure account where then the qualified expenses are appropriated for. And then also in addition to with the life packs, defibrillators and things like that equipment, in the ambulance replacement account, we put funds aside each year, not only for the ambulance, but some of the equipment on the ambulance. So that's another thing. So theoretically, if we didn't apply for this grant and we went to replace these, in the 2025 budget, it would probably come out of that replacement account. So it's actually kind of lessening the burden of what has to come out of that account for the 95. So
Okay, so as of right now, we're not like beginning an extra. This is
we're
already
not
money
adding to
that's
the
there.
budget with this,
Okay.
with this grant.
All right, thank you.
And it's perfect for this because this fund has to be spent on EMS equipment or training or things like that. So it's a perfect category for it.
All right, thank you. All right, so again, we had a motion by Veneman, seconded by Bemke. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3, consider a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from Kyan Carter for alleged vehicle damage resulting from an open manhole on the expressway on October 11th, 2023.
Okay, this claim was submitted to the city by the claimant, and we turned it over to our insurance company. They did their investigation and found that the city had no liability for the incident, and so they're recommending denial of the claim. And by denying the claim, basically what that does is it just shortens the statutory limitations to 6 months in which the claimant can pursue further legal action if they so chose.
Thank you. Questions, comments? What are your wishes?
I'll move to deny the claim.
I got
Second.
a motion by Bemke, second by Veneman. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 4, consider a request from the Community Development Department to release a request for proposals for the Downtown Master Plan Project. Kyle?
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank Carrie for taking the lead on this. This has been a few months in the making in regards to an initial request back in October, I believe. Prior was a request for grant dollars from the county to be used for a $75,000 master plan update project in the downtown. We are now requesting approval of an RFP or the release of an RFP. A draft has been provided to you in an email. I've also provided hard copies to you tonight as well. I'll note that this is in line with what we spoke about initially, having a multi-phased approach over the course of 18 months and taking the lead role in doing the public engagement component. And you'll notice that out of the $75,000, we're setting aside a few thousand to utilize a few public engagement tools like SurveyMonkey and others to help us engage with the public and obtain feedback and input in other non-traditional ways. With that being said, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may have about the RFP or anything in regards to the process, the timeline. Rather than just walk through it, I'll just entertain those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns? I guess I know we've talked about this a few times in the past. I know there's a few of these downtown master plans already kind of on the shelf. I'm assuming we've looked through all those, and I guess how is this plan gonna be different from those plans outside of the few things that have changed down there since the last one or last couple?
So I think we'll have new metrics, we'll have new data, we'll have updated maps. We've also asked, as you can see, for 4 to 6 different kind of focal areas on some of the underutilized parcels within the downtown, so we want that to be the focus. I think any plan and the implementation of that plan is really dependent upon the staff that you have, as well as the implementation strategy or implementation chapter of the plan. So it's our intent to have a very robust implementation chapter with realistic goals and objectives that have a timeline that can be measured and can be updated and reviewed annually or every other year.
Do you think that most of the development that you're talking about is dependent on city movement, or is it going to be dependent on private investment, things that are out of our controls?
Yeah, it'll be both. You know, I'll use the Foundry site as an example. A lot of what'll happen in that site over the next couple of years will probably be outlined in this plan, and the city's taking a proactive role to clean up that site, get it back on the tax rolls. But ultimately, for it to become developed, there'll need to be some private investment. Now, the city can participate with incentivizing that investment and so forth, but the plan will outline all of those steps. There are some properties in the downtown, like the Tribune property, that we don't own and operate or have control over. So I think it's dependent upon the site that's being looked at, and then, you know, there'll be generalities as well in terms of, you know, just creating a more walkable environment, furthering placemaking, the events and things in downtown, and creating more of a business culture as well. I think those general things will be identified that maybe aren't as easy to measure, but I think are still very important to the success of a downtown.
Are the I know I had mentioned, talked with you and Carrie about it before. Is this something that can be updated and used year after year after year, or is this going to be another one that ends up eventually on a shelf and kind of forgotten about until we have the idea to do it again? Is this going to be something that can be ongoing for the next 20 years?
Yeah, I think, you know, typically a plan such as this has a, I don't want to call it a shelf life, but typically as a 10 to 15, maybe 20-year kind of horizon in terms of when the plan would ultimately be fully implemented. I think, and I put some thought to how we could keep the Plan Commission and the Common Council up to date on different goals and objectives that have been measured throughout the years. And I think, you know, our office does a annual report every year, and I think we could add this plan, this downtown plan, and any other plan that we pursue, like the comprehensive plan, if we update that in years to come, through our annual, you know, department report. We could include a section regarding this, and we could identify what goals and objectives have been pursued, you know, what maybe are priority goals and objectives, short-term, long-term, and use that as kind of a check and balance that then's provided to the Common Council on an annual basis. Or we could obviously have a separate meeting, but it's our intent to likely annually review this plan as it, you know, progresses.
Would it be worth, you know, a line item on a, I don't know, like the commission for, like the planning commission to just touch base once a month or once a quarter or something like that, instead of just at the end of the year? Is that going to be too cumbersome for, you know, the account? I guess I'm just thinking of the accountability to make sure that we keep it at the forefront and keep things moving. Would that be too much to bring it up once a month or once a quarter?
No, I think a good way to do that is just have a standing item on Plan Commission that's maybe at the end of the Plan Commission agenda that just says, you know, updates regarding planning initiatives or projects within the community, and that would give us an opportunity monthly to provide any updates, whether it's related to downtown stuff, historic preservation, or anything else that, you know, Planning Commission may be participants in or review moving forward.
I think that would be good, just for us to stay on top of it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move.
I have a quick
Oh,
question, just
go ahead.
Kyle. How many entities do you think will respond to this? I just don't know how many people are out there that do these.
Yeah, I was surprised with how many respondents we got with the Vanderwall plan, the paper mill plan. I was surprised at how many we got with the court plan for the parks. And with both of those, we got, I think, 8 to 12 respondents. I don't think we'll get that many this time. I think a lot of these consultants are much more busy than they were during the pandemic and the tail end years of the pandemic. I'm hopeful to get 4 to 6. I think it may turn some off because of our hybrid approach, where we want to take the lead role in public engagement to kind of lessen the dollar amount for the project. And that may turn some consultants off, but I think we'll still get 4 to 6.
Thank you.
And we will, we'll bring those back. We'll have a kind of a steering committee as outlined in the RFP. We'll review those. We've got selection criteria, and then we'll make a recommendation before Property and Finance. We may even also place it on a Plan Commission agenda, and then ultimately Common Council will have the final say on what consultant we will select.
Thank you.
I want to give Carrie an opportunity if there's anything I've missed, Carrie, that you wanted to note.
No, I think you covered it well. I mean, I guess the only thing I'm thinking is, as we're talking about, the plan at this point on the shelf, I think there have been quite a few aspects of that plan that have been adopted, like the comprehensive wayfinding signage program, of course, the mall redevelopment, the county expansion. So I think the state of downtown now as compared to '09 is quite different. I think the context will be quite different. So some of the prioritization and things that we're thinking would be important, I think it would definitely be within a new context. And I think that's relevant, when looking at now compared to '09.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? What are your wishes?
I'll move to approve the release for the RFP.
Second?
I got a motion by Bemke, seconded by Veneman. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 5, audit of the bills. Jay, I didn't ask, what are you?
I'll make a motion to approve checks numbers 19376 to 19883.
Second?
I got a motion by Bemke and a second by Veneman to approve the audit of the bills. Any questions or comments? Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the total number that we're voting on here? Or approximately?
I don't have a total because the check runs are individual, but I could get you that if you would like it.
Well, we get it anyway. It just was,
Right, it
Well,
doesn't
we
have a
had it
grand
now.
total at the end of the report. It's basically a combination of a series of check runs because we cut checks usually every Monday and then some a few in between. So I can get you that total if you'd like.
well, okay, we'll see. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 6, setting next meeting date. February 6th at 4 o'clock. Any questions or comments? All right, next meeting set for February 6th, 2024 at 4 o'clock. Item 7, in open session, the committee may vote to go into closed session under section 19.851E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In closed session, the committee may discuss negotiations and strategy involving offers to purchase property for a right-of-way acquisition and temporary limited easements as prescribed by the Lincoln Street Transportation Project Plat 2022-14 and may give staff direction regarding said acquisitions. What are your wishes?
Move to go into closed session?
Second.
I got a motion by Veneman, second by Bemke to go into closed session. All those move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, 3-0. We are now in closed session.